Hey, welcome back. Let's look at how to edit the header and footer of the site. So first off, you can click on any of the pages, and then once you've got that selected, press Edit. Then if you hover your mouse up the top here, this is where you can edit the site header, and then whiz to the bottom, and then again do the same thing for the footer. So let's start up at the header. Clicking Edit Site then brings up some of these blocks. So first off, you could add elements. So what that means is these are certain extra things, aside from these links, that you can see on the page. So first off, we've got the button that I can toggle off and bring on again. Then if you are building an e-commerce site, you could bring in the cart. The same with, let's say, a members area site. You could do the login here. And if you're doing an international site, then you could add in the language switcher. If you then used the extension Weglot, for example, to then bring that through. So you can also just toggle these on and off. Then hovering your mouse over in the different areas allows you to then get at the actual content itself. So taking it into site title and editing allows you to either change the text that appears here, add a logo, and add a mobile logo as well, should you want to. And then once you've added the logo, you can change the size and everything else that appears there. The other thing to note is if you do have a logo in place, you also want to make sure the site title is correct and still there. Even if the logo might cover it up, that's going to be used in Google's search page. That's really useful to have in place. Then in terms of the navigation, so you can do one of two things. You could either edit it here and just drag and drop these around so that you can then reorder these, or you could have done that in the actual page itself. So if you want to reorder things, you can then do that over here, and that will swap this. Just noting that this is a drag and drop, meaning there is no save button. So once you move these around, it then publishes it instantly. The next thing in the site header is our button. So in this example, we're using the button for the contact page, but I have not got the contact page up the top here. What I have done is I have hidden it in this not linked section, and then we're going to join the button up to the page itself. So taking Edit, clicking on the button, and then editing here. So first off, I can change the text to then, let's say, call that Contact Us. And then I'm going to link this up. So attach link, and then I'm going to either scroll and click this one here, or I could have then typed it in myself. So everything inside the website starts with just a /. And if I start to type, here we go. And then we're going to make sure that is turned off, because anything inside the website, we're not going to open in a new tab. So there we go. There's that one done. And then should we want to edit the design, so then we can click here. We can change and look at all sorts of different layouts, and then that will change on the site. We can then adjust the link spacing between here, the elements. So this text versus the button, so we could move these around, and then we can change other things within inside of here. So a drop shadow, so then having a shadow at the bottom here, we could add in. A fixed position basically means making it sticky. So it's always going to be fixed at the top here, and then whenever the user decides to scroll, then you can see that it starts to appear here. Let's just change that setting a second. So instead of it being a scroll back, let's just have it being basic. So that means that whenever I start to scroll here, it's always going to appear, and it's going to bring that color in through the color settings. So the color settings are here, and then it's going to pull it through with this adaptive one. But we could also force the same color itself. So I could have the solid, And then I can change the background. I can change the text links. So that's changing this over here. And then I could do a few other things, or I could make it work with the color themes. So I could then get it to follow the color themes here, or obviously have it permanent. Then I can change the height. So I could increase the height here, just noting that obviously that takes up a certain amount of room within the website itself, especially if we did have this fixed position on. So I'd encourage you to try and make it as small as possible, just so that it's then not taking up any more real estate on the screen itself. And then you can have it full or inset. So inset basically means that it will add slightly more gap here should the browser width be slightly wider and on a bigger screen. Or in this case, we're going to keep it full. So yes, you might not see anything change as such, but if you did view this on different screen sizes, we've got that in place. So that is everything to do with the desktop. Then we can also get to the menu itself via here. So then we can edit the design, and we can change this. And then we can change how this is going to be interacting with. We can change how the mobile layout is going to be. So that could be slightly different to how the desktop layout is. Then the same with the colors as well. And then again, we can get at certain things. So here we're into the site title. Then we could edit and change the same thing as you would on desktop, but then being able to change how this works. If you clicked on here, you can then edit and change the icon. So you could do that, change the different thickness of the lines here. And then if you pressed view menu, then this is where you can obviously see it open here and then edit the design, and then you can change the colors. So you could decide to have it totally different color when it opens up. And then you could also increase the gap or change it. Let's say it's left aligned. We can have that all in. Then let's say we change this, moves the gap between here. So there's a bunch of different things that you can go and do within the header. Then the footer is a lot more simple. So let's edit the footer here. Then you can either add sections and have like multiple footers inside of it. You could also pick from some of these suggested layouts as well. Or you could add your own blank section in there as well. And then this works the same with any other section. So you have got all of your blocks that you can go and use, changing the colors and be able to edit and do this. And then the same is true on mobile, being able to then toggle this on and then adjust the layout that you want for mobile. The only thing to note that you can't do is do the saved section. So you have that in place, but otherwise everything else is there and ready to hand. And then once you're done, just make sure you hit save and then you're all sorted.